Alright, so I'm out back up the road from the house. I tried to go see if I might take a few casts for some steelhead river out back. I haven't been out here for a while, and sucked. There's way too much water down there. If I can get to a spot down here, I'm gonna hang out in here for a bit with the camera and see what we got in the mailbag. So last summer, when Sarah and I walked this whole river, upriver up here, along this bank right here, like basically right there. She could hear it crashing, walking through the forest on the bank right here, right beside us. I couldn't hear nothing. I didn't hear nothing. Didn't see anything. I thoroughly looked. I listened. Nothing. And then, right down here on the other side of the river, if you can see them or not, let's have a look. Those overhanging, focus, cedars, right there on the other side of the, see my finger? Right there. Right inside those cedars is where she saw all those lined up sticks, and then they disappeared right in front of her face. Right there. And then, you can see quite the padded down trail here. See it? Everything's stomped. You can tell the stomped difference, right? See the fluffy moss? Stomped moss. See it? Flattened all the way along this bank, but there's also a popular bear zone too, right? And then, yeah, right on the other side was where that absolute ridiculous stomped trail, and I mean stomped trail, came right out through the woods to the edge of the river right there. Which did make sense. It's not human, because humans don't go down through this nasty shit down the steep bank. There's access areas along here. Look at this trail. I should put a trail camera on here sometime. Look at this sucker. All the way along. Now, what the hell is that fishing gear? It can't be. Gotta be a leaf. There's no way it could be fishing gear up there. But anyway, one day I might hike down here because there's a wicked pool right down below me here. A couple of overhanging branches, but man, does that look like there should be a fish in there. I took note of that when we hiked down here. Steep bank though. I guess I could make it down this way. Maybe. Anyway, let's see what we got. Shall we? They could set it up right here. Alright, there we go. It's not a bad little view, right? Up in this big timber. Now, quick mention, I had a handful of people email me and say, what are you doing threatening people online? It's going to be premeditated. Why would you do that? I haven't threatened anybody online. And I'm not that stupid, right? Think about it. Before the emotional end of our crowd gets emotional, it's just the rules. Like, you come on a property, there's going to be a sign there that says the dog's probably going to bite you. There you go. If somebody is that loose between the ears and decides to find somebody on the internet, stalk them online, find out where they live, cross their closed gate, and come to knock on the door. That's a roll, like I said, it's a roll of dice, 50-50. I didn't say what's going to happen to them, but I guarantee you they're not going to leave on their feet. There you go. How's that premeditated? Premeditated, you're going to have to single out the individual, know exactly what you're going to do to them, and premeditate it and do it. Somebody comes to a private property with ill intentions, they're taking their own risks. Anyway, I'm babbling. I don't want to talk about that. Now, who do we got? Hopefully it doesn't rain. I like being out here 100 times more than I like being inside at that desk. It's not raining. It's supposed to rain. Alright, now our friend who has, a very intelligent friend who's traveled the world, looked into all these rabbit holes, possibly a long time before many of us, and very thoroughly, emailed us a little while ago, and he emailed me again with some more that he forgot to add, so I'm going to get that shared. He sent 3 more emails. Alright, but it's very interesting stuff, especially if you are looking and digging. More on the separation between us and them. Where to begin? I know many people who have good private relationships with Sabe that definitely are on the spiritual side, and that is an acceptable middle ground. The quest for spirituality. And generally, yes, it is always the case that they are teaching and we are students. Coming together there is okay. The fear that grips people. Take note when reading the various accounts from people that it is occasionally the case that other entities are present and moving forward could put us in trouble. Some of these are just bad entities, and the Sabe might stop us from getting into a bad situation. I have read this sort of situation arising many times. People are being protected. Sometimes the Sabe is not happy about having to do it, but they do anyway. An example. A big male steps out onto the road and turns to face you, squaring off. He looks agitated and angry. His whole approach to the human looks like aggression and feels like aggression. It is intended to get you to turn around and leave, and it works. Was there something ahead of you were being protected from? We are aware of portals as a topic, and it is very clear that the deep world of science is very interested in this phenomenon and are pursuing understanding it. Portal activity sometimes brings in dangerous entities that hate humans. I suspect Sabe are highly aware of these portals when the portal is active and who or what is coming through, and possibly even the intentions. Sabe are of a lineage that has the capacities described in watchers or angels and not just the messenger types. While they have all these exceptional capabilities, we do share some of them. We are the reason that these watchers and angels came here very long ago. Our progress as a people surviving and as spiritual beings are the reasons for continual oversight. The time when the watchers, the sky people, decided to engage us directly for an extended time, when they came down to be with us, that is when the intended plan for us went sideways. This whole chapter is a tumultuous time in our history. It is the blurry period that we are not supposed to know. It is the time the Vatican has covered up and created their own version of which we have been given for over 2,000 years. What actually happened during that chapter? This is the question I'm trying to get at least some solid answers for. Alright, I'm going to continue this in a second. I'm going to strategically move because that background river is loud to me. So it must be really loud to you guys. So I'm just going to go back in a little dip here for better audio. Some people with a bunch of dogs came by above me. Dogs winded me and went ape shit. So I bailed. Now, I don't have my quad, but when was that? A while ago, some people thought, I was wondering if there was a person beside the road in the snow. Remember that? No, there wasn't. It's a stump. There's a lot of people that have been down this road numerous times that said, was that a person? No, it's a stump. It's right there. Alright, that is the stump. When I went downhill, and people thought it was a being. Alright, there you go, that's cleared up. Now, alright, I'm going to finish this email and then I'm going to head back to the shop. There's too many people around. I don't like people. I don't like people. I like my time. Private, in the woods. It's usually tough right around here. Alright, let me do that question again. It is the time the Vatican is covered up and created their own version of which we have been given for over 2,000 years. What actually happened during that chapter? That is the question I'm trying to get at least some solid answers for. What is clear is the interactions they perpetuated on us. They taught us so much knowledge that was explicitly forbidden at the time. We learned too much too fast. Humanity changed drastically in a very short period of time. Our spiritual footing was not solid enough to navigate and maintain good judgment as we advanced too rapidly. Some say we are created by these entities who came here, although the Sumerian texts say they came here approximately 450,000 years ago, and our agreed origins date back approximately 250,000 years ago. And it seems like that could have happened. I'm not convinced that this is the case. We are rightfully here and they aren't. That is written. Some might argue that point, but there is so much backing that position we hold. After quite some time of being here, they decided to create their own legacy, their own earthly lineage. We were used for that purpose. I don't think it was directly through intercourse with human women, but DNA tests in the future will settle that question with finality. The offspring were giants. Something to consider in this. How could a human woman birth a giant? The giants were of several racial types, many different lineages of specific genetic types. Pale skin with blue eyes, reddish hair to dark skin and brown eyes and everything in between. They had their lands. They had their giant female mates, and we were not needed anymore. But we continued to coexist until it was inconvenient. We became persecuted by many of these giant tribes. Some brought us into their lands, and we were treated well, but we were still inferior to them. They proliferated and spread to many lands globally. They were the powerful ones. They were a lineage that some would call the offspring of the Olihim, demigods. They are supposed to be the rulers of the earth. Their progenitors were the Watchers. As time went on, we became less and less desirable, while the Watchers had determined that Earth should be theirs. The mess created by their intervention into earthly affairs had not gone unnoticed. The treatment of humans was unacceptable. They were warned. In that time, they became belligerent, and as if to put an exclamation point on the whole situation, they created all of the animal hybrids, as is so clearly indicated in the Book of Giants. More monstrosities for the human race to deal with. This oversimplified summary I have outlined is my own, and it is missing a lot of crucial information and events and circumstances. It is the latter placeholder as I continue to clear up the events and the consequences of all that happened. This is why I reach out to the true experts on this matter to build towards a real and useful recollection of that history and reconciliation of the various seemingly desperate but seemingly related records. It's a lot of work. My brain at this age can only do so much before I blow circuit breakers. Well, can relate to that. The Sabe is from Watcher/Elohim ancestry. How much of the Sabe genetics comes directly from the time when the animal hybrids were made is yet to be determined. The Sabe are different than their more animalistic counterparts. All of them have that Watcher/Elohim lineage. I have read accounts where the Sabe protected humans from encounters with entities that were described as some of the more animalistic hybrids. It seems that some of these were very evil and may be outside of the normal lineage and here to destroy. Perhaps they came through portals? Things to think about. I think it was really good for the email from the Arizona 4. I think it was really good that the email from the Arizona 4 was read along with mine. I agree that the approach to understand the Sabe through spiritual means is a solid way forward. And asking what a researcher is exactly is completely valid, certainly. I suggest going to the dictionary to understand what research is in the truest sense. My approach is shaped by my quest to understand history as it relates to these apparent others here. And remember, I started out studying UFO actions in the nuclear weapons realm. My curiosity about ancient history was sparked by that recent relational study because I knew it wasn't random, and I knew there had to be historic foundation for it. That deep historical study was not coming together. I learned a lot, but none of it clicked until I inadvertently began to look into Sasquatch. Then the puzzle pieces came from all of the scattered locations and locked into place right in front of my eyes. It was completely unanticipated, completely unexpected. The UFO aspect took me a while to unravel related to all this. Now I think I understand the big picture, but need the details to write about it. Those details are a historical education from those who really get all of this from the correct perspective. More DNA studies and more education on the application of DNA to this subject as it locks the history firmly in place. The sticking point for many is the undeniable story in the cuneiform writings of Mesopotamia, the Anunnaki. How does that relate to the biblical stories? Do they overlap, or are they one and the same? Resolving that history that has been kept from us is absolutely key. Were they the Elohim, the fallen watchers? I'm going hard on that one. If I die before this gets done, that would be a real shame. Personal note to me. Okay, I'll read that in a bit. And then one more email titled, I forgot some critical parts on the separation. When the flood or whatever events occurred to rid the planet of the fallen watchers and the giants was not 100% successful. The animal hybrids were still here. They were at least partially of earthly genetics and mostly do not pose an interspecies threat. They were allowed to stay and given certain lands to occupy. This is outlined in the story of Esau and his offspring. Esau was most likely Sabe. How that happened, I don't know yet. The story might just be a representative of events surrounding the original Sabe. I have a lot of work ahead. These giants who remained were mostly killed off by humans who had assistance from watchers who had not fallen in stature, had not come down deceptively to be with us, and who still had the station as watchers. We still have them doing oversight to this day. Another email titled, Damn, more. Put it all together for today, 3 emails. When the animal hybrids were allowed to stay because they were of the watcher lineage, they were to remain separate from us and not interfere in our affairs as their progenitors had. And as you and I both know, some of them cannot help themselves. I think if it is for spiritual purposes, we can meet with them on that common ground. It is allowed. All right, so it's 1, 2, 3 emails combined. Got it, and I'll read the personal shortly. Appreciate you, man. You got a lot of digging there, haven't you? A lot of digging. Very generous to share what he's come up with. And for all of you who are truly digging, like as in truly looking at all angles, there you go. Take from what you will, leave it. All right? Very, very handy information there, without a doubt. I don't know if you recognize behind me, that is where, that's the backdrop that is usually right behind me when I am recording, down there alongside the river. Recognize it? All right, I'm gonna go back into the shop. We'll carry on from in there, all right? All right, back in the man cave. Now, quick mention before I forget again. A very, very, very kind, very generous man emailed us, didn't email us, mailed us. Do you remember? Mailed us these items here. Look at this custom-made fishing lure. Made out of a pine cone. Remember that? How crazy is that? And this little devil too. Look at that. That's some awesome craftsmanship. Very cool. Pine cones. For real. Now, before it was chaos leading up to us going away for holidays, full chaos at the house here. And he had mailed us a package of them to help create funds to feed those hungry little munchkins. And he mailed this to us, and the package hit my bench in the shop, which everything's normally in here, out of sight, out of mind, right? And then we left. Like I think it was like the next day. Check this out. Look at all these. How amazing is that? All pine cones. So now, and thank you so much. You know who you are. And I believe you want to remain anonymous. And I'll read a little bit of the email that came with it, all right? Hi, Steve and Sarah. Here are 10 lures for you to raise funds to help those less fortunate in your area. I've sent you smaller lures to keep the shipping costs down. I read the comments after you read my email and was humbled and inspired by the words, the kind words from the How to Hunt family. There were some very interesting thoughts on how to turn these lures into cash for your How to Hunt charity. Each lure takes me about 4 to 5 hours to make, and since I make a very limited number of them, I could not supply the demand that your channel could potentially create for them. No doubt. That being said, I would love to see you maximize the potential of these to raise as much as possible from them. If you were to put a price on them, what would that be? I would think that since they are so unique, the price would reflect that uniqueness, the time involved in creating them, and the extremely limited supply. All right, then he went on to suggest various ways of possible auction, raffle. And I'll save that between him and I. Since this is the How to Hunt family, and they know all the money raised will go to helping those less fortunate, I think you could easily sell. Okay, right. Got it. And tickets, possibly. Closing. I've always wanted to do something good with these lures. As I said before, I'm not looking for recognition. My search for truth and purpose have brought me to this point in my life. I understand the folly of selfishness and pride. I'm so thankful and feel so blessed to have all that I have, and now just want to do good works in the time I have remaining on this earth. Thank you for this opportunity to help those less fortunate in your area. It is truly a blessing. God bless you both. And you too, my man. God bless you and your family. Everyone. So kind. Now, I'm going to have to put a little few thoughts here, get some creativeness going, because I know a guy who, I did his podcast, and he was having some raffles and stuff online. And next thing you know, the Canadian or provincial gambling board came down on him, citing all sorts of infractions and illegal moves for having an auction or a lottery. Believe me, there's going to be some pricks out there. If I did something simple like this to feed children, I just have to, we're absolutely going to put these to use. We're absolutely going to make these all available to all the people here, and we're going to figure out how to do it correctly, smoothly, fairly, and not create negative attention to us from our corrupt government. All right? Because they will. They will. What a kind, absolute awesome thing. What do we get? 1, 3, 4, 5. There's 10 of these suckers. Look at them. 10 of them. All pine cones, handcrafted, 4 to 5 hours each. 50 hours of labor. Skilled, very skilled labor went into crafting these little cool, very cool items. I don't know if I would ever even dream of putting one in the water. But I bet you I could catch a fish with them. So how cool is that? And yes, I will figure out how we will turn this into feeding the little munchkins. Maybe it could even, well, we'll see, because I was thinking it could even possibly go anyone in the subscription subscription part of this channel would be eligible for a draw, maybe, and then do it that way. But then YouTube takes some of that, I think. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I will figure it out. Thank you so much. I apologize. It got off of my plate and off to the side, out of sight, out of mind with me, right? Very cool. Very freaking cool. Now, note, I received the email, the personal note from me, and to Rob, I will definitely agree with what you got to say there, and I will try to see if I can make it there for sure, and possibly in the next month. Maybe. All right? Now, funny how I use this as a method to communicate with people at the same time, isn't it? All right, now we have another email. This one is another update. This is from Joanne. Now, this is from the woman who shared with us military dogman things, shooting somebody in the arm. Remember that? And all I said was that it sounded like a perfectly written movie script to read it out, right? Everything happened in it, the way it was wrote, it sounded like a perfect movie script I read. I didn't say if I did not believe the woman or not. That's all up to the individual. Now, she has given an update. Update to email read March 3rd, 2025. Joanne. Update. Hello, Steve. Thank you for reading the email I sent. You keep saying you want the truth. You want knowledge to learn from the people. And here's a little bit of both. I sent you a recording. I told you in the recent email that you read I was crying, and it was long. From what I gather, you didn't listen to it. I really think you should. I'll have to look back on that because it's not ringing a memory bell at all. It may not have even come through as attachment. I don't know. I get a lot of emails of people saying there's pictures or there's a recording or this and that, and there's nothing there. But I'll look. I'll ask you this. Why would a person send you this if it wasn't true or a lie? So I'm sending it again, called My One Stexperience W-Where Men Dog Men. After you listen, please read the rest of the email. To all you... Okay, well, that's going to stop me dead, isn't it? So I got to find that, listen to it, and then read the rest of the email, right? You know, I'm going to keep reading. To all you out there, what I've written is not BS. It did happen. I'll defend what has happened to my last breath. It's the truth. Seems some don't like that. And I don't know. Do I care? No. You're the ones that only see and hear what you want. And that's a bummer. Ignorance is bliss for you. I guess some need earplugs and blindfolds. The other is, don't be a hypocrite by saying I believe and then turn around and call BS. In the previous email that you read, you asked about the holes in the tunnels. After the incident, we went back for our bikes and was told to stay off/away from that area as it was deemed unsafe, and it was monitored. The park maintenance had filled in the holes and the tunnels. I mentioned in the recording Patty from Ohio and the lady that had an experience with the little people and dogmen from the Twin Cities. They connect to what I wrote about. I am working on sending that in. Many don't see the corruption that goes on in their own community. Some do. There's many different types. Some go hand in hand with the cryptid/paranormal, lost, missing, kidnapped, trafficked, held hostage. I know that some of what I say will be bold statements. I can't give you proof, but I can give you a few incidents that happened. Get ready, sleuths. In the early 1980s, a 3-letter agency at Tracy, Minnesota, one of their agents rented the upstairs apartment from my grandparents. I helped him after he was shot. Also, again in the early 1990s, about 1991, find missing, kidnapped individuals. Hostage/kidnapping/death. A male news anchors who recruited some college students did what I mentioned. Serial killers. But I can't find anything on this. I do know that the 3-letter was involved. They made me the bait. Hostage/kidnapping/death. At a casino in Carlton, Minnesota, that had explosives go off. One in the building, the other in a car. A little boy died. National Guard/SWAT was there in 1991. There was a news account, but I can't find it. Maybe someone else can. Hostage/kidnapping death at a business called Landscape Structures, Delano, Minnesota. Another at a regional park called Lake Beebe, around 1997-1998. If any of you investigate them, red flags may pop up, or you won't find anything at all, not even newspaper accounts. If there are, it's altered to fit their narrative. If it was on the news, you may not find the footage, maybe in police records. I also told you in the last email that after I graduated from high school, I learned about trafficking and Ian's family. Here's a glimpse of it. I'd like to say, first off, will they come after me if I tell this? Maybe. They have before many times. Will they take me out? If I go back, the answer is yes. This happened in 1990/1991 in a town named Deer River in northern Minnesota. I was with a group of women/men that were trafficked. Some went missing, some by humans/some by cryptids. The ones in power, the government and local agencies, did nothing except exploit the ones that had talents and forced/threatened you to do things you didn't want to do. They wanted to know your genealogy. If you had any indigenous blood, they went missing. They didn't want the girls pregnant. If they did, they would have a midwife that did the awful task. If they were further along, they went missing in the middle of the night. With me, I was severely beaten by one of their regulars. I miscarried with a breech birth in the basement apartment with several bodyguards of influential men surrounding the bed with a young male doctor. I had twins, a boy and a girl. My son didn't survive, my daughter did. She was given to a couple that had recently lost a child as they could pay for her medical costs. I was always told I could get her back, but I never could. I had to pay for my son's gravestone, but at least he has a memorial. Here's some ways they got rid of things. The town has a hospital that had a waste incinerator. HMIWI. If it's still there, I don't know. They took your blood. If you escaped, they sent the trackers, the dogmen, after you. These ones were bred/controlled/handled by humans. Their orders were to find, bring back, or kill. These ones were bred and controlled by influential men. One of those families was Ian's, so yes, I did find his family. Another was to take those away that they deemed unworthy in the middle of the night. You were blindfolded, chain around the waist, brought to the forest, led to area where an exchange happened. That's when I met a warring clan of forest people. That's a different part of my journey, and as some of those that I was chained. That's a different part of my journey, as some of those that I was chained to perished by their own hand, some another way, or by the forest people. If any of you think this is easy to write, it's not. I would write in notebooks all the things that happened, but would hide them in different areas. They would always disappear. I'd do it all over. There were times when I was so badly injured that I was blind and mute. I have the scars made by men. The last was the word mine, that was carved in various areas. Every night a light is always lit for the lost, missing to find their way. Thank you for reading some of my journey, Joanne. That's some heavy ass shit in there, Joanne. I have to make a note to look for recording. All right? And I will look. Take from what you will or leave it, you guys, but I'm sure a lot of you sleuths, especially if you're in Minnesota, you're going to start looking into some of the past incidents she listed there. And we will see where this goes. Okay? Wow. Wow. Now, the brain starts to just get cooked sometimes. I'll tell you what my brain does, because I hear things and learn things, and then and meanwhile I'm sitting here and I can't just drop everything and start going full bore tunnel vision on one item when I got about 10,000 in front of me that need to be heard by all of you. So I'll keep going right now, and I will get to finding that recording. This next email has no title. Steve, you can share my name. I'm Dave Saunders from Oregon City, Oregon. I started watching your hunting videos in 2017. I was watching your video when you shared your personal story, and now I watch them daily. And here are my experiences. They're not all Sasquatch related. The first one I can remember was my grandmother and I driving on a gravel road out of the country east of Salem, Oregon. It was nighttime and we saw a round object sitting in a field with colored lights going around it. I was about 6 years old at the time. At about the same time, I was at my great-grandmother's house deep into the woods, out in the country, in some general area. This happened in the evening, and it was storming outside. I was playing on the floor, and there was something walking on the roof. The grown-ups said it was a witch. All of the adults were very frightened. Now I think it might have been a Bigfoot, or maybe a dogman, who knows what it was. But I remember when the Patterson-Gimlin film came out, as well as reading John Green's book, The Sasquatch File. I've always believed that the Sasquatch were real. I became a knower when I had my first Bigfoot experience in the early 80s. I was around 23 at the time, and I was hunting deer in the Cascade Mountains west of Sisters, Oregon, with my older brother at the time of this event. We parked at the end of a logging road and hiked down into a valley well before daylight. And as the sun was coming up, this extremely loud, and I mean loud, scream/roar boomed down the mountain. It seemed to last for about 45 seconds. It was nothing either of us had ever heard before. We looked at each other, grabbed our packs, hauled ass back to the truck, then got the hell out of there. We found another place to hunt that year and never went back to that place again. My next experience happened in the mid-90s. I was bow hunting in the Ochoco Mountains, pronounced Ochico. Why don't they spell it that way then? Ochico of Central Oregon with my brother-in-law. I found a footprint in the mud close to our campsite. My sister has a picture of it somewhere. 3 years ago, I took my grandson camping. He was 12 years old at the time. The only spot we found was on the top of a mountain on a dead-end road next to a power line right away. The area where we set up camp was an open area about 40 yards across and a small knob. Two sides of this area dropped off very steeply. One side had a large timber on it, and the other side was the open power line cut that ran down the mountain. My grandson was sitting with his back to the timbered slope, about 5 to 10 yards away. I was making dinner for us when all of a sudden a tree branch snapped just inside the tree line, breaking the silence. It was so loud it sounded like an entire tree had been broken in half. My grandson jumped out of his chair and spun around to see what was happening. There's nothing there. No noise from the trees, nothing moving, around or running off, just silence. The sound seemed to be just inside the tree line. I knew what it was, even though I did not see it. Nothing else could have broken a branch big enough to make that loud of a sound. My grandson never asked what could have made the noise, and I never told him what I thought it was. Nothing else happened the rest of the night. I left a lantern on all night outside of the tent, so I mean he would sleep better. I always go armed into the woods, mostly to be able to protect myself against people with bad intentions. I did feel safe. And this fall I was rifle hunting for blacktails. I was parked at a locked gate and was getting my equipment ready to head into the woods. The road I was parked on was 16 feet wide, straight, and went uphill to a crest 696 yards away, measured with my rangefinder on another trip, then dropped off. There's a small patch of timber on the right side of the road and a clear cut on the left side of the road. The crest of the hill was directly in my line of sight, and every time that I turned around, it was in my field of vision. As I was getting my things out of the back seat of my car, I turned around and I saw a huge, extremely tall black object standing in the road where the hill crested at the top. There's nothing there moments before. I could not make out any features. It just looked like a very large black stump. I watched for a while and it never moved. I had my binoculars hanging around my neck and thought about using them, but for some reason I never did. I do not know why I never used them. Maybe I did not want to see a face looking back at me. Then after watching it for a while, I went back to what I was doing. The next time I turned around, it was gone. Now for the strangest thing that I've ever seen. Last fall, I set a couple of trail cameras out, and one camera captured a video of something hovering in front of the camera. It's a bright light, sort of round, with what appears to be two other brighter lights attached to it. They kind of look like headlights. You can also see two tiny bright white lights that kind of look like eyes. Excuse me. They are the lights on our grate posts in the distance. The video was taken at night and it's raining, and you can see and hear the rain falling between the camera and the object. The light does not move until about halfway through the video. Then it jumps towards the camera, and you can see the edges of it moving and undulating as it's checking out the camera. I am guessing the thing is about 2 feet or so away from the camera, and I have no idea what it might be. Some type of cryptid or something else that is supernatural? Your guess is as good as mine. Whatever it is, it's very creepy. I attached 2 screenshots from the video. The streaks you see are raindrops. I used a filter on the image. It took the light away, and now you can see what was inside of the light. Please take the time to watch the video. It'll definitely freak you out. It's a holy shit moment for sure. It's 30 seconds long. The original video is on my YouTube channel. Share the video if you like. I only have 4 videos there. One is a nice 5-point buck chasing a doe, and the other 2 I was playing around trying to learn how to make YouTube videos. I'm not trying to promote my channel, as I would hate to see my channel doubled from 3 subscribers to 6. LOL. Okay, man, I'll share it. It's the channel is Dave Saunders /Oregon. There you go. I'll check it out in a bit. And just so you guys know, like, I've had so many people come to me, and just want to be my best friend of the whole world, and they're just out to promote themselves in the end. It's kind of creepy. So, anyway. Screenshot. And now I got to do the saving part here. Save. Okay, give me a second. All right, there you go. Shared. And that's definitely kind of odd, don't you think? Definitely very, very odd, especially if it jumps at the camera. And do I have an answer for that? Obviously not. Very odd, for sure. And hopefully I don't forget. I'll go check out that video. Mr. Saunders, thank you for that share, my man. Keep us posted, all right? Keep us posted on what goes down in your ride. And if you come up with any new puzzle pieces that you're going to be generous, they would generously share with the gang here. This lifetime is so crazy. Don't you think? What's even more crazy and frustrating for me is when you focus on the truth and focus on the people, and then all of a sudden you get time out to go look into other things that might catch your interest, like what's going on the planet. The insanity just really pulses in your face. You know what I mean? Now, where am I? Okay, I'm going to share one more, all right, you guys? I haven't a clue how long. Oh, this is really long. Really long. All right, hold on a minute. Let me see. You know what? I just might take off right now. And my day's getting on there. I got lots to do. Excuse me. There's a lot got unpacked here in a way. There's a lot of stuff here for you sleuths to dive on. And you sure really got to appreciate all the kind people here, right? Especially the brave people. They come forward and share their truth. It takes a lot of brevity. Brevity? Brevity. A lot of guts. Share my story at howtohunt.com. Keep this ball rolling no matter what, all right? And I will 100% be back tomorrow. Wow, I'm on top of the world now.